Yo, should be able to hear me right now on the mic. The RFL podcast is, of course, back. It's Wednesday, my boys. Turn us up. Let me make sure I get a thumbnail graphic up here. Oh, you guys can already see the title. This is kind of a big topic here of the podcast. The U, we already know they're going to be the number one team in the country after LSU took their upset loss to Auburn. We're, of course, going to get into that. And then, of course, Tennessee, big storyline along with them, the huge upset victory they were able to get over Penn State. And, of course, at the bottom there, this is going to be key that we're going to talk about. Can Tennessee survive the gauntlet? And what I mean by that, they've got some games coming up. We have to see if they got what it takes to win those games to be the playoff team that Tyon and the guys said that they could be this year. But let's go ahead and give a rollout to the guys who are here. We got Skinny in the building, Lito Loso, Mari Harris, Mr. Calling Home. Hold up, let me turn that off. Yeah, Mr. Calling Home. We got Rodney Goins in the building. Ronnie Shanahan. And let's see what else we got. We got Seamus. We got Chris Clark. We got Michael Blunt. Who's this? Tanner Gamer. What's going on, my guy? Hit him with the yo. What's going on, Arl Matthews? And shout out to the guys that are here. Shoot, you know, I'm one of the guys. I'll just step on, man. I know the head looking drier than a Brillo pad, but hey, going to get right the next week. Don't worry about it. I ain't get a chop in like 2 weeks. But I'm not the type of guy to brag about the appearance. At the end of the day, man, you guys already know what it is. The podcast is ready to get underway to go ahead and talk about what happened this past week, talk about the top 25 rankings, and, of course, the games that are coming up this week, the predictions, the spreads behind those. Let's go ahead and get into it. Not going to be any games in terms of, any graphics in terms of, what you guys will see in terms of the score. Because once again, just to reiterate for the guys who did not see the last podcast, it did happen the day after. It usually does on Thursday last week. But I wanted to make sure that you guys know that a lot of things have been cut back for the college series right now due to the fact that now that we have full customization that we're looking to take complete advantage of and control of for this upcoming season to make it the best RFL season ever. I got a lot of work to do to build literally every single roster in the RFL right now, and that all has to be done, of course, before the draft. Got to create the graphics for the draft. It's a lot of work for you boys. So for anyone wondering why there is not going to be any games called until the game of the week, that's the reason why. I just cannot call games while I have all that going on. I have to make those. I'll say that I so far have completed 2 teams. I'm going in alphabetical order. So the Armadillos and the Aviators have been done, and I've completed half of the Barons. So 2 out of 32 teams done. I'll say 29 and a half more teams to go. I'm going to give a shout out to Olin Shaw. He's also just yesterday started trying to see if he could help out with the rosters whenever I can't work on it, because while I'm recording Premier games, I cannot edit the rosters. So just to keep the time flowing, that's a good, outlet right there for somebody to be able to assist. So that way we can try to get these rosters and everything done fast and on time. But let's go ahead and get into the week that just happened. Like I said, no graphics for this, guys. I'm just going to League Lobster. If anybody in the Discord can go get that League Lobster website. Matter of fact, I think I could show you guys this. I'm not really sure. I don't think it's got the top of the website, so no, I can't show it to you. Actually, right now, it says I can message on there. So let me do something real fast. I can grab the link right now. So let's see. And I'll go ahead and drop the message right here. I don't know why it's coming out like that, but I copied the link to it, but it looks like it just sent the text. I don't know what's going on. Let's see, copy. Let me try this. And it keeps doing the same thing. So unfortunately, it's not letting me create the link out of here. Thought I could use the website right now and show you guys, but unfortunately can't do that at the moment. But let's just go ahead and dive into the games, okay? So week 7 started out with UCLA versus Ohio State. Now, we had some concerns about Ohio State because they've already taken 2 losses on the season. This is the 2-time national champions, and UCLA has been looking good this year, right? But this is the type of performance we wanted to see from Ohio State. They controlled this game all the way from start to finish. We were able to walk out with a 21 skunk Pepe Le Pew victory. 41-20 is the final score. So I got to give a shout out to Ohio State bouncing back and facing a pretty solid team this year and handling business the way that a national championship team should. I just thought it was already great gameplay all around. So Ohio State getting this victory to keep their playoff hopes still alive is good. On the other end, I'm gonna go ahead. We'll go through this when we talk about standings, but I got to pull this up on my laptop over here. I forgot about, but Ohio State now, I believe 5-2 on the season. Let's go. What we got here? I don't know what's going on with my laptop here, guys. Should be pulling up, but nothing's happening. What is going on? All right. Well, I guess what I could do is I can kind of flip around with this. All right, so you guys should be able to see when talking about Ohio State. Let's go get a look at the Big Ten. So looking at UCLA, they're third right now in the Pac-12. But before that, of course, they came into that matchup 4-2. Now 4-3, of course, after the loss. And then we get into the Big Ten right here, where you see Ohio State at 4-2. Wish I could have more control and not have it skip so much. But yeah, 4-2 after the win. They were 3-2, so things just weren't looking good for these guys, coming into this matchup. So it's a good thing they were able to get the victory. We'll go back to week 7 here. That helps them out to keep alive, because I feel like there's a good chance with how competitive this college series is, you might be able to get in with 3 losses. So that's a good sign in a sense for teams so far who's lost those 2, but there's a good chance that some of these 2 lost teams right now could win out. But great win right there by Ohio State. Miami able to beat North Carolina, paying these guys back for getting that upset when they were the #1 team last year and losing the ACC championship. The reigning ACC champs, and the UNC Tar Heels just could not show up and do anything against this Miami team. I mean, this Miami team is balling right now, and this is a great victory that they were able to get over North Carolina. Granted, North Carolina is not the same UNC team as we saw last year. They just don't have the talent. They only have Jeffrey Rozier, who came back. So he's the only guy who came back from UNC. The rest is pretty much just all generics, and they did Drake May pretty dirty. He's a 73 overall. This was before he had his breakout season last year. So just not the same team. And Miami is a great team still this year, as we could see. Defense is immaculate. Only held the UNC Tar Heels to 3 points. So I mean, a great job there. And first time interception thrown by I'm blanking on his name, by Dorian. Yeah, Dorian. So he went a long streak, 6 whole weeks without any interceptions. He got picked off before they could get any points, but only 1 interception, still ended up throwing in multiple touchdowns and was able to lead Miami to a victory. So only 1 pick on the season still for that kid. He's doing his thing. And Miami still undefeated, the only undefeated team now at 6-0, and the first team in the RFL College Series for CS5 to become officially bowl eligible in the RFL College Series. If you win if you win 6 games, you are automatically qualified to play in a bowl game. All right, then we get into the Super Saturday Premier games at 1 p.m. Eastern. I got to get a bell out here to, do I got the right? No, I don't. I got to get a bell. Here it is. Make sure I didn't want to press the wrong button. But bell has to go out to Iowa, because Iowa, we know they're pretty bad this year. Not pretty bad, they're really bad this year. We thought they would be the team that wouldn't get a single win this season. They managed to get that done, and they actually had Wisconsin in this game. I got to give credit to Wisconsin for coming back. I mean, it was looking pretty bad. Iowa looked like they were going to win, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, just a 21-point blow up by Wisconsin. They just found a way to win and come back and win that 35-24. Like I said, I'm not going to spend too much time on the games as well, guys, because I do want to jump right back into editing and doing those things. But yeah, Iowa, they did have this game, man. I thought they were going to win it as I was recording it, and then as it went on, just Wisconsin just started to explode at the right time and get it done, man. So second win of the season for Wisconsin. The Badgers able to get it done there at home. West Virginia getting absolutely done in by Baylor. This is the Baylor we want to see, right? The Baylor that's consistent. The Baylor that can play all four quarters of a game. And then also, it looks like Baylor's going to be a very dangerous offense, more so because of the quality of carries. This is the most runningest team in the RFL College Series right now. I mean, they literally gave Seamus Davy Fitzpatrick 40 carries in this game. And with those 40 carries, the guy still had over 250 rushing yards and over a 6 yard per carry average. So that tells you a lot about how dominant he was within the game. And they just completely destroyed West Virginia, who was still in search for their first win of the season, 45-10. West Virginia is still the only team that hasn't won a game yet, and it's tough to try to get that against a team like Baylor this year. And, this used to be a matchup in the last couple of years in the RFL College Series that was really good to watch. But, we saw the fall off of West Virginia. Nobody really applying to commit there. Got a quarterback in Alcorn there, and of course a running back, but they just have not been able to do enough to sustain this team from taking the losses that they have been. They've been competitive last couple of weeks before this game, but Baylor wanted to make sure that they put this team to rest, didn't leave any chance of a comeback, and they absolutely did that. Got to give a bell here for the next game to myself and to Stanford. First to myself about having this game premiere at 1 a.m. in the morning for those guys overseas, I guess, and instead of 1 p.m. Eastern time. And yeah, it was a late night game, so some guys didn't get to see this. It still was a decent amount of viewership compared to, the usual views we get during that time. So that was crazy. So the early morning vibes was definitely what's up, but it was a beatdown, man. Michigan absolutely dominated Stanford 42-6. Just came off that upsetting loss where they literally had Penn State for the win, right? It was literally the final seconds ran off the clock. Penn State able to throw it in the back of the end zone, touchdown, and Michigan loses by a point. It should have been 2 because they didn't let them kick the extra point. But, I mean, at the end of the day, Michigan, they've been playing some good football, and they showed that, hey, that loss, it is what it is. Penn State is a good team, and we handled business against weaker end teams compared to us here at home, and they absolutely dominated the Stanford Cardinal, man. 42-6. That's a huge victory there for Michigan. Going into the 4 p.m. games, Oklahoma versus Maryland. Oklahoma getting it done, and Maryland really now starting to unravel and show us that they were never that team that we saw in the beginning. I think we all knew this. We knew when they started playing more stiffer competition and things started getting a little bit more harder in terms of competition, of that competition level with better teams, with better talent. These guys just really could not compete. They've had some great moments, but against a team like Oklahoma, who we still don't know about this team all the way yet, but they're winning games. They're doing what they're supposed to do, So Oklahoma getting this victory was pretty huge, of course, for them, and they won pretty soundly here. I mean, 31-9. That's a big win right there. It was good play by the quarterback Avery Rhodes within that one. So, I mean, I think the more he continues to play good, and it was really great play from the running back who we've been waiting to take off. And once again, blanking on the names. I should have had these names written in, but I know his first name's Jalen. Jalen's just been going crazy for the Sooners. Just went crazy for the Sooners within this game. Prior weeks, I mean, this guy, like we said, there's a lot of talks, and we saw some things from him before the season started. A lot of preseason talk, in the scrimmages, he was looking excellent, and, just really has not been able to burst onto the scene until this week here against Maryland. Granted, it's Maryland. Their defense is pretty trash, but, hey, Oklahoma gets it done. He has a great game. Hopefully that starts to build up his momentum to show that he can have those kind of games on a consistent basis. Now, USC and Arizona State. I kind of predicted this spread was right on the money. I predicted USC to win by 6 or more points. They won exactly by 6. And they kind of gave me a scare. Because if you were watching this game, them boys was, they probably were in a position where, I thought they were going to lose this game. Arizona State just could not get it going. and USC finds a way to pull it out, right? You don't know what you're going to get from USC this year, man. Of course, it really relies on the quarterback position, the way that they play, and he had a pretty okay game. He didn't like throw the game away. He took control of the game as best as he could, managed it. That's pretty much the perfect word right there. He managed the game well enough for the Trojans to get the victory. And I have to say this before we go too much into USC. I mean, we'll talk a little bit more about USC, but USC is quietly having a good season, man. I'm not gonna lie. They took 2 L's, right? But they're 5-2 right now. They're 5-2. We'll see where they rank in the top 25. But when you see where they rank, I mean, this team technically has a chance to make it to the playoffs, right? Still, again, for the third consecutive year. So look out for that, man. Right now they're looking, like I said, they have their up and down games, but if they find a way to mesh, they have the good games, they could find themselves in that boat. So, great way to come out and get the victory. This is a conference win for them in the Pac 12. And although it wasn't the prettiest thing, USC is slowly and sneakily climbing up on guys. I don't know if anybody's paying attention to that. Literally check out the records and everything from the League Lobster site. And just see that these guys aren't far away from being in that conversation, literally. And then, of course, we closed out Super Saturday with a great game between TCU and Notre Dame. Knew it was going to be a great game. I chose Notre Dame to get the victory here within this one, and boy, they got it done. And TCU, they brought it, man. You got to give your hats off to TCU this year. This has been a team that, I in the beginning even said, like, I don't think TCU is the same team as they were last year. And I still say they're not, but it wasn't too much of a drop-off, to be honest. These guys are still solid. They've managed to get some solid wins on the season. And, I think this is a team that when you play them, you don't act like this is a team that fell off compared to last year, like teams like UNC and West Virginia and things like that. This is still a tough team, and almost were able to get it done over Notre Dame. But Notre Dame, once again, showing us they're a really good team, man. They lost those first 3 games of the season against top-tier talent. And ever since then, they've won every single game. So Notre Dame is a team to look out for, guys. They do manage to edge out TCU here in this one, 28-21. Okay, then we get a look into Super Sunday. We had Texas A&M taking on Georgia. Now, Georgia, I would have liked them to win by a bigger margin, but they tend to have issues with Texas A&M. Texas A&M always playing Georgia pretty close these last couple of years. They play them pretty close here again. 30-20 is the score, but Georgia at the end of the day finding a way to win. And like I said, I want to see a little bit more explosiveness from this team like we saw in the beginning of the season. Still finding a way to win here, but if they want to get themselves in that playoff conversation again, which they haven't been since they went undefeated and won a national championship in CS2. So this is an opportunity for Georgia after 3 years to try to get back in that boat. They do manage to find a way to win. That's all that really matters. And if anybody remembers from that old Georgia team back in CS2, those guys won a lot of close games. Like, literally, they won every game, but a lot of those games that season were close games. So Georgia, even then, if they find a way to win, that's all that matters. Only still have that one loss on the record to LSU earlier within the season. Embarrassing loss there, but at the end of the day, they haven't lost another game since or before. So Georgia still, of course, in that conversation. They were ranked fourth also as well. Game number 2 at 1 p.m. Eastern. We had Texas versus South Carolina. Now, Texas has been looking pretty terrible. These guys just can't seem to. I think the read option teams that just hit that read option a lot and just run their quarterbacks a lot, or the quarterback just taking off a lot, they tend to just lose the games within this Madden that this mod is on. They just got to slide. They can slide, but some just don't decide to do that, and they lose the football. Quinn Ewers has been having a lot of struggles. There's been some bright moments this season for Texas, such as this game. They found a way to get it done over South Carolina. South Carolina fought hard. These teams are kind of in the same boat. South Carolina, in my opinion, I just thought that they were a better team to win this game, and they almost could have, but unfortunately fell short. Just a great game between these two. Texas finding a way to beat the SEC opponent there on the road, 29-24. So got to give a shout out to the Longhorns. There's no prospects on either one of these teams, so really not too much to go on any further within that matchup. Clemson and Louisville, man. I got to give another bell to Clemson. Now, I can't remember if I chose. I went with Clemson. Yeah, I did go with Clemson this year for this matchup, and the reason why I did is because this team is too good, too talented on paper to be losing the games that they are. Now, Louisville is a good team. Don't get me wrong; they're a solid team. They really do have some good players, and of course, you hear the players go crazy on Malik Cunningham on how terrible they feel he's been this season, and he's had it rough. He sure has. But I will say that Louisville is a very solid, just slightly above average when you look at the average teams within the RFL College Series. And Louisville fought hard, found a way to get the win. Steve Washington, Skinny in the chat, he went crazy. He was able to have himself an easy 100-plus yard day, some touchdowns. Louisville just finding a way to get by Clemson, but Clemson 2 back-to-back close games, losing by 3. They lost to Auburn 2-3 the week before, and it's like they're putting up the points. I don't know what's going on with the defense of Clemson, but they're just folding at the worst possible times, and they're just not balling. They're just not balling. See somebody try to make a Bryce's Zakowitz account. Good to see we got some college series fans. Somebody showing some love to the generic players. Let's see what he says. He says, be like Tennessee, only has a couple games available on YouTube, even though we've played 7 or 8. He said, I'm kind of new here. When does anybody know why some teams don't play every week? Well, it should be teams don't play every week because there are some teams that got a bye week, but every game should be on the channel. Now, highlights have been cut down because of what I'm handling behind the scenes for the RFL. So I can't do highlights anymore right now on the channel, and I can't call as many games, but every game should be live on the channel. You probably just got to type it in. I haven't put everything in a playlist, so maybe the playlist is going to help guys out. Playlist should be up to date up till like week 6 or something, maybe week 5. So I'll try to see about getting that up to date somewhere throughout this week for you. But every game should be there. I don't think there's a team that has missed a week in terms of it being on the channel unless they had that bye week. All right, so we go ahead and we get a look at Clemson losing that game, tough, man. Louisville, they look like they're gonna be a bowl eligible team, man. I like Louisville, man. I love the way that Washington's been running the rock. Steve Washington's been doing well. And if they could get a solid game out of Malik Cunningham, they've always got themselves a pretty good shot. I even remember that game, even though the final score looked pretty bad, and they got blown out by 21, 48-27 game against Penn State. It was close for a long time before it got ugly. And that was just simply because, he was able to manage, took care of the football until he couldn't. But if he can have some solid games for Louisville, then Louisville, with the run game they got with Washington, they've got a good chance to be able to put up points and be competitive within the game, just as they were here in this game against Clemson, where they ultimately came out on top. So big shout out to Louisville and those guys over there, man. Still finding ways to win. Hopefully you get at least 6 wins on the season, and you guys can play in that ball game. Talking to Auburn, who beat Clemson the following week, you see right here, 24-17, Auburn able to upset the #1 team in the country, and LSU gotta play the bell. Man, LSU, regardless, I know this is a solid team, but sometimes those solid teams just lays an egg. And another thing too is Auburn's a little scrappy, man. Auburn is not an easy team to just walk over. The last couple of weeks, these boys been out here throwing some touchdowns, putting up points. TJ Holcomb catching all the bombs from Don Beck. Don Beck has been out here balling. Not going to lie, man. Check out the last couple of games from Auburn. And check out that kid, that wide receiver, number 17, TJ Holcomb I just talked about. He is a problem. And he was a problem within this game, at least enough. He got in the end zone. He didn't have over 100 yards, but he was able to do what he needed to do and have a touchdown to help contribute to their 24-17 victory. LSU, they play hard. They just couldn't get that consistency on offense. I think the downfall was, the play of Aiden Semino, who's played good for the majority of this season. His biggest issue has been just him taking sacks. The unnecessary sacks has been an issue for him. He's got to learn to throw the football away. He's taking a lot of hits that he shouldn't. You don't want to see that, right? But at the end of the day, I think what really killed him was the interceptions. He threw a few interceptions in this game. Auburn's defense came ready to play in that one, and the offense was able to do enough to edge out LSU, and they were able to get the go-ahead score touchdown to take that 24-17 lead as they ran down the clock and then ran it in with Mike Spears. And so I just thought it was great execution, great game plan by Auburn. They get it done, man. 24-17. Big time win. Of course, that shakes up things in the top 25. And then, of course, the last game we had before the game of the week, Alabama versus Florida. This game is always dope to watch in the RFL College Series. Always close. I remember even last year, Tyler Cage having to have to get the pick six interception just in order to win the game because Florida was about to upset them then. We just saw Alabama come off of an upset, and these guys are trying to prove that, hey, we are still a team that, hey, we were the runner-up national champions for last year. Just lost that game in a close one against Ohio State, and only one loss on the season. Although it was a tough one to South Carolina, they are still in the conversation. They want to stay afloat. They haven't been in the top four, though, ever since that loss. They want to get back into that, and they were able to beat Florida, who, we know about Florida. Florida is a team that they can shock you. They can definitely shock you and get you that, give you that loss if you take them lightly, especially if AR has himself quite the game. And when he tears you up on the ground scrambling, that's when it gets a little bit, dicey. Can't let him do that. But if you force him to pass, we've seen he struggles in that department. Force him to throw the football, and usually if you have a good enough defense in terms of pass coverage and offense put up points, should be able to beat Florida. And they were able to edge them out. 17-10 final score there. And then we get to the final game to recap here for week 7. And that is the game of the week. Of course, the poster topic, when Tennessee and Penn State had squared off against each other. This was supposed to be game of the week. Every game of the week has been a banger except this one. This was a pure dominant performance and straight blowout by the Volunteers. 30-10 was the final score, and they didn't even get that touchdown until their last possession of the game. So Tennessee just absolutely balled out. They really had these guys beat 30-3. So this says a lot about Tennessee and how talented of a team that they really are. You got to look out for the Volunteers. And again, we're going to get more into, the context of things. I don't know why right now things aren't pulling up for me so that I can look at, current schedules and things coming up on my laptop that I can discuss with you guys. I'm still trying to get that figured out. But at the end of the day, Tennessee, huge victory. We saw a great game from Tyon Nickerson. He did throw an interception, but he threw a touchdown pass and he ran one in, had a gutsy scramble there. But the big stars of this game, you got to give the credit to the defense of Tennessee. 4 interceptions on Sean Clifford, who was killing it for Penn State the prior weeks. He was absolutely a dog. They made him look terrible in that game, man. Absolutely terrible. To get those 4 picks, 2 of them coming from Kenzo Udo. So shout out to him. And the defense was just all over the place, forcing fumbles as well. Of course, Sean Moore ripping the ball out of a wide receiver's hands. Like I said, I wish I had graphics or time to make the graphics or edit even videos for you guys to be able to see this stuff as I usually do. But unfortunately, just don't have the time to be able to do that because of those other duties. But that is it for the Week 7 recap. Tennessee getting the victory. Let's go ahead back to the page so that we can show you guys who the standings, how the standings are looking right now. So let's go ahead and get a look at the ACC. Currently moving into Week 8. Only undefeated team in the RFL College Series, Miami, 6-0. As you can see right there. Number 2 in the ACC, we got Notre Dame. Of course, these aren't actually correct in terms of the order, but they're pretty accurate. I would say that this is accurate in terms of how they got the rankings. Miami is number 1 in the ACC. Notre Dame is number 2 in the ACC at 4-3. Louisville 4-3 as well at 3. North Carolina at 4 at 2-5. Such a fall off for that team. Clemson, a team that I gotta play the bell for them again because they could easily be 4-2 right now, or at least only one loss. I mean, they had a huge win. They upset it Ohio State earlier within the season, and they're losing games that they should be winning. But it's nothing new from what we've seen from Clemson this year, from the prior years, right? I mean, they have loaded talent, but for whatever reason, the last couple of years just can't seem to put it together. 2-5 seasons, looking terrible. Florida State, of course, usually they're looking terrible in the RFL College Series, always have been. I know the Florida State fans who be watching the College Series, they get feel some type of way about that because Florida State's nice in real life, but hey, that's real life, bro. This is not the RFL. In the RFL College Series, Florida State has been a terrible team. I think they're the most losingest team in the RFL College Series history. But moving on, we got the SEC here, #1 team. We have LSU. This is changing, though. Of course, like I said, they have them listed at #1, but you'll see from the top 25 who I have in the SEC as the top as a top team. But LSU right now, you have them at 5-1. This is why the SEC is the conference to watch in real life, and then of course now finally in the RFL, the competition is at an all-time high. We got 4, which is out of the 8 teams. This is the biggest conference in the RFL College Series. Every other conference of the 5 that we have 6 teams in it. SEC has the most with 8, and man, half of the conference is 5-1. And these guys got to play each other. These guys got to play. The only teams that have played each other so far is LSU and Georgia. LSU was able to get that victory, which is Georgia's only loss. And of course, we saw LSU take their only loss to an SEC team, which was Auburn, who you see right there as the 5th ranked team at 4-3. So the SEC is absolutely just an incredible competitive conference to look at. When they're playing games, you want to make sure you're tuning in. But LSU 5-1, Georgia 5-1, Tennessee 5-1, Alabama 5-1, and even ranked at 5th. And as bad as we thought Auburn was going to be, these guys found a way to get upsets like against LSU and get some big wins. And these guys are over 500 and only a game away from LSU, Georgia, Tennessee, and Alabama. They're 4-3 right now. So this is a fight, and we're not even talking about Florida. Florida's right here, right underneath for Auburn. I know they're under 500 at 3-4, but if anybody's been paying attention to how this team's been playing, this Florida team has been a team that, like I said, they upset it and beat Baylor first game of the season. So this is 6 teams, and South Carolina upset at Alabama. There's no team on here. Texas A&M's the only one that ain't putting in no work right now. But I mean, Texas A&M is still a team you can't sleep. You can't sleep on no team in the SEC. You play any of these teams in the SEC this year, you better hope you go out there and give it 100. You guys slipping, you think it's going to be an easy game. If you're taking on like a South Carolina or Texas A&M, you're going to catch an L. So just know that the SEC is the conference and the teams to watch so far this season in the college series. It's by far right now the most competitive college series and SEC teams in the college series, I'd have to say. He said, don't do that. Really tough schedule. He said, Smitty, you wrong. Hey, man, I'm just saying. I'm just keeping it 100, man. The SEC is just really stacked. I mean, we look at the Texas A&M even being at 2-5. Yeah, it sucks, but like I said, a tough team, and one of those wins for South Carolina, man. They were able to beat Alabama. So this is the conference to look out for. But that's the order. Auburn 4-3, Florida 3-4, South Carolina 2-4, and then Texas A&M sitting there at 2-5. Then we get a look at the Pac-12, and this is exactly what I was talking about, guys. We were talking about SEC. We weren't even discussing USC. We weren't even discussing USC after we saw they lost to Stanford, and then they took the loss to Oregon. We're like, man, well, it looks like it's going to be UCLA since they look better in Oregon playing in the Pac-12 Conference Championship. Thank again, because USC is on top of the Pac-12 right now at 5-2. And like I said, this has been a little bit sneaky. As I looked at it, I literally looked at it before the podcast, and I was just like, wow, these guys are back on top of the Pac-12. And if you look at the rest of the schedule, which I'll talk about, and I'll try to see if I can download so I can show you guys the schedules that's coming up for some of these teams that are in debate, so of possibly making it to the playoffs or possibly being bowl eligible. I want to get in that discussion. But yeah, USC back on top of the Pac-12, 5-2. Oregon 4-2. Now they had a bye week, so that kind of affected them. But right now, USC is a game ahead of Oregon. They will have to have their bye week, but they can continue to win out and make plays happen. USC can be right back in the Pac-12 Conference Championship. Probably can get their one back against Oregon too, who beat them really bad this season. But yeah, Oregon 4-2. UCLA after their loss to Ohio State, the two-time national champions. Still, you got to say that's still a great team they got there. Definitely not looking the same as the prior years, but at the same time, it still is Ohio State, and UCLA got beat down 4-3. Stanford 2-4. Arizona State 2-5, and Washington has just been looking pitiful out here. 1-5. They lose 2 more games. They won't even be bowl eligible. That's tough. We thought this team would be much better than this. They're just dropping games left and right. Hopefully they can turn things around. They literally would have to go on a crazy streak of winning out in order to be bowl eligible, and they got Penn State coming up. So I mean that's going to be tough, man, to try to get a victory over the Nittany Lions. Although they got stumped on by Tennessee, we'll have to see if that affects them going into the next game. But that's the Pac-12 right now. Let's get a look at the Big 12. Big Baylor right now on top. They are 2 less losses over everyone else. Everyone else has got 3 or more. They got 1 game over everyone else. They're 5-1. So they're sitting in a really good seat right now. So 5-1, the Baylor Bears. Oklahoma sitting at 4-3 at number 2. At number 3, we got Oklahoma State and TCU, both sitting at 3-3 on the season. Those two played each other, and Oklahoma State beat them. So that's the reason why Oklahoma State is above them right now in this ranking. So this is all correct right now. And then of course we got Texas at 2-5, just really looking bad. And in West Virginia, still in search, the only team in search for their first win of the season. They lose 1 more game. Bowl eligibility goes out the window, but we already knew that. I mean, you start out this bad, you gotta have Jesus on your side. Whatever God you pray to, you're gonna need him. If you're West Virginia, you know what I'm saying. West Virginia's looking pretty bad. Not pretty bad. They are bad. They're really bad. But at the bottom of the totem pole here, crazy to say that they still could get 2-3 more wins. And if Texas continues to fall off a cliff, West Virginia could even surpass them. But they're trying not to make history in a bad way, because if West Virginia loses, if they lose every single game, look at me making them worse. If they lose every single game for the rest of the season, they'll be the first team in RFL College Series history to not win a game in the season. I don't think there's been a single team that's only had 1 win. I think every single team in the college series has all had at least 2 or more wins in the 5 years that it's been going on. So West Virginia, I mean, even if they make history as being the least amount of wins in the season with 1, they don't want to have none. All right, they don't want to have that Dunkin' Donuts visit. So they want to make sure that they upset somebody. They've been playing some tough games, but unfortunately just have not been able to come out on the end of things. We'll see if they get that upset. I'm pretty sure we're going to be having a party and excited for those guys if they get 1 win on the season. And then, of course, we get to the last conference in the RFL College Series, Big 5 conferences that we have here. Big 10. Penn State on top. Tough loss. Absolutely got dominated by Tennessee, but they're still on top of the Big 10. That Tennessee game would have been important for them if they won that game, because that would have had them, again, still 2 games ahead of everyone else. Now they are a game close. So they're going to have to make sure that they keep the pressure of winning, because if they lose, they drop 1. Michigan and Ohio State, they're still there. We could talk about how Ohio State has fallen off and taken those 2 losses, but they're still not out of the playoff conversation, and they're still not out of even the Big 10 Conference Championship conversation. Penn State and Michigan has looked so much better compared to the last couple of seasons, but they're still in the talks. 2-time national champions are still there. So Penn State, if they want to win the Big 10, if they want to go to that conference championship game, it's been Michigan and Ohio State for God knows how long when the conference championships in the RFL College Series. They need to keep winning and put that last game behind them. But they're number 1 right now in the Big 10 at 5-2. Michigan, they had a bye week, so they're 1 less game with 4-2. Same deal with Ohio State. They had a bye week, so the same record. And then we have Maryland, 4th in the Big 10, 3-4. Wisconsin, 2-5, and Iowa at 2-6. And those are the conferences right now and standings and how they're looking record-wise in the RFL College Series. So with that being said, we're now going to move into the top 25. I'm going to save that. I'm going to try to download the schedule so we can look at what certain teams have left. Let me see if I could do that real fast. In the meantime, let me put up the podcast just so I have something here. But I know I can download that sheet real fast. That schedule B, a Pecan. I gotta give a shout out to Pecan too for creating this schedule. This has been a great season, and the games coming up have been awesome, man. It just shaped out to be great. Let's get hashtag Pecan in the chat, man. He did a great job with that. Where is looking for this right now? Okay, here we go. Going to the pins. And got the download going on. Let's go ahead and open up the file. Okay. Oh, you guys probably are seeing this right now, are you? Oh, no, you can't. Okay, it's good. We already been through this anyway, so I'll have that ready for you guys to be able to see. I'll organize it, but let's go ahead and get a look at the top 25 of the RFL College Series. You guys already know who number one is going to be. Get those palm trees in the chat. They've been waiting for this a long time, and it's finally come. The Canes right back at number one. But I want to know right now in the chat before I reveal the top 25, who do you guys have as the top 4 teams and in what order before I reveal them? I will go ahead and put on a 2.5. No, I'll just do 2 minutes. A 2-minute timer because I know there's a little bit of a delay. I just want to see what you guys come up with in the chat. Got over 30 plus live here. If you haven't already, hey, hit that like button for your boy, man. Definitely helps out the channel. Like I said, I know the content's been kind of slow as of lately, the extra stuff outside of the games, simply because what we got going on right now, the RFL season that's coming up, it's going to be amazing. But yeah, continue to support, continue to hit the like button, man. I appreciate all you guys showing up and participating. So let's go ahead and get a look at this. We got okay. Pat, he's got Miami, of course, number one. Everyone should have Miami at number one. Probably should just list three colleges like Rodney did. But LSU number 2 says Pat. He's got Baylor at 3, then Georgia at 4. Okay, that's Pat's predictions. Rodney Goen says Georgia, Miami, Georgia, Baylor, Tennessee. CP has Miami, Tennessee, Baylor, LSU. And Pat says, yeah, I said it. At number 1, of course, we know the number 2, Tennessee, Baylor, Georgia, says Charlie Dotson. We got LSU, Georgia, Oregon by Dalen Mitchell, so that's different. Let's see what else we got out there. LSU, Baylor, Georgia for Christian. I always like revealing this. We got Garrett Evans saying Alabama coming up here at 2, Baylor at 3, Tennessee 4. He's got a longer list. He's got Oregon and Georgia. So I guess that's his top 5. That's the top 6 schools right there. He said, wish we were in the top 5. He's got the dead skull face. That's Chris Clark. Got Miami, Tennessee, LSU for QPOC. Look like he's missing the team there. I still got my timer on. You guys are going to hear him when the timer goes off. Oh, actually, you don't have to because I just looked at it, and I'm going to just end the timer so you don't hear that annoying morning wake up alarm clock that you guys use. I'm pretty sure everyone uses the same sound on their iPhone to wake up with those alarms. But yeah, it's now hit 0, and now it's time to show you guys who the top 25 rankings are, who's in the top 25 and who are the top 4 teams. If the playoffs were to start today, this will be the top 4 teams making it to the playoffs. Miami got the new colors here, the orange and green now on the top 25 graphic, but Tennessee has jumped all the way up to number 2 after that big victory over Penn State. I know I was talking with the Baylor guys later. They was like, well, we shouldn't get jumped, but I wasn't expecting Tennessee to come out there and do what they did. You guys still get jumped, but guess what? You're in the top 4 now. Now it's your position to lose because Baylor is now at number 3, and you guys can finally probably make the playoffs this year. Got to maintain it. Got to maintain it, Baylor. LSU falling from number 1 all the way to number 4. Georgia cannot get over LSU because of the loss. So because of that loss, that's why Georgia cannot be over LSU. Personally, I feel like if they play again, Georgia wins, but hey, it is what it is. LSU, they got that win. They got to stay over Georgia unless they can get more wins than the Tigers. So LSU at 4, Georgia at 5, Alabama 6. Penn State's falling down to 7. USC's at 8. Is why I said look out for those guys. They're still in the conversation. They're over they're over Oregon, even though Oregon beat them, is because they don't have the same amount of wins. So it's 5-2. They're 4-2. So Oregon at 9, Michigan 10, Ohio State 11, Notre Dame 12, UCLA 13, Oklahoma 14, Louisville 15, Auburn 16, TCU 17, Oklahoma State 18, Florida 19, Maryland 20, South Carolina 21, Stanford 22, North Carolina 23, Texas 24, and Texas A&M. They were 25 last week, but still somehow found a way even after the loss, which wasn't too bad. They only lost by 10 to Georgia. Thought it'd be worse. To stay in the top 25, hanging on at 25 again. So those are your top 25, and this would be interesting. So I guess right now I would pose this question to you guys, man. If the playoffs were to start today, even if, scratch that, whoever you think is going to be in the top 4 at the end of the season, do you think it's a team this year that can compete with Miami? And is this the year for the palm trees? Let me know in the chat. Because honestly, I feel like if the playoff was the start and this was the top 4, the first matchup, these are just my early predictions. The playoffs were to start today. Miami would have to play LSU. I think Miami wins. I think Miami wins that. Could be shocked, though. I mean, if LSU plays a good game, watch out for them. But I'll take Miami in that one. Tennessee versus Baylor. I'm taking Tennessee in that one, to be honest. So Tennessee and Miami, that would be my national championship right now if the playoffs were to start. And that's tough. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? If you had to go ahead and pick out of this top 4, and that had to be the order of playing, who do you think goes to the national championship or who wins? Okay, so let's see what the chat got going on. He said kind of early. Yeah, I know it's early, but it's always a good topic to talk about, man. Always a good topic. Said Miami will win, says Q. He's on the bus now. Forgot about that. They already got Auburn at 14. So Miami's good, but I can still see other teams. Let me see what Garrett's. I can still see other teams able to beat them. That's a good point. I do feel like it might not be as easy as people, the palm tree guys think, man. But they're looking good. I think they definitely have the capability of beating every team, but they are beatable, in my opinion. Let's see. Been saying that all season. Baylor is winning, says Rodney Goins. He's a Baylor guy. So it says CS4 beat Miami last year to ruin their perfect season. CS5, Baylor is better than last year, says Olin Shaw. So Olin Shaw thinks Baylor, if this was to go down, would take them down. Honestly, Miami is ridiculous this year. Miami got it out of this top 4, says Lorenzo Sheffield. And he says Chris Hayton is wild. Give me Vol, says Luke Poor, the former Volunteers quarterback the college series. It says still early to call, not going to lie. Yeah, so it's just great debate. Good talk to have, man. I just want to see where guys think. It says, bro, I'm speaking facts. Let me see what CP said earlier. Oregon, not either. Okay, that was his last message. Did he say something earlier? He's just laughing. Okay, he says, you not beating a elite defense when your quarterback throwing 5 picks. Oh, man. Okay, we're talking heavy now. I guess this is what I could do when I'm more so solo on these chats. I can go ahead and interact with you guys in chats and talk about what you guys are saying and probably go in a little bit. I like this. Keep it going. This is, okay. He said a lot of bias going on. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of bias going on. That's why you got to love it, man. He said, let's remember, Miami has had a few close games, like against Oregon, went to OT. Miami won because of the 6 turnovers. Miami is insane, not going to lie. But give me Miami and Oregon rematch and playoff me. Okay. Well, again, that's an Oregon guy too, so that's how he feels. He feels Oregon another rematch, they might be able to get him that time. I could see Miami and Tennessee actually for real. And of course, that would be the Tennessee guy, Tyon. I need some other guys outside of these teams to talk, man. Like who got a true opinion on who they think out of these top 4 that you're not associated with would get it done. I'm trying to look for somebody who's not on any of those teams. He said Oregon's not jumping us. Let's be real. He said Miami's the best of the four, but I'm betting on my squad, says uh, Christian. I don't think we got anybody else who's here that's not associated with any of these teams that we're talking about. So, and I got to look down this way just to read it, because if I look over here on the side, I got the light kind of shining. So, yeah, I guess we'll end it on that topic right there. This is going to be amazing. This honestly, as much as I'm waiting for Madden 24 to take over this college series for when they finish that college mod, so shout out to the MMC mod guys. But hey, this has been a great season, man. I don't know if guys been actually paying attention to these games. And of course, recently I haven't been able to call them. I wish I could. But this season has had some bangers. I'm talking about, you don't know what's going to happen. Last year was kind of unpredictable. But this year is really, like, it's a lot of teams that can be in that top four, man. Not going to lie. It's a lot of teams. We're talking about as far as even USC right now. And as bad as they started out, they're at 8 and could potentially end up in the top 4, right? Michigan can do that. Ohio State could still do that. We could get as far. I think after Notre Dame that ends. So the top 11 teams still have a shot, guys. The top 11 teams have a shot to making the playoffs. I feel bad for the SEC teams, though, man. A lot of these guys right now have not played each other, right? Tennessee still hasn't played Georgia. Tennessee still hasn't played Alabama. And that kind of goes exactly to what I was talking about, where I guess I can share it now. But this goes into the gauntlet that I was talking about with Tennessee. Let's go ahead and get a look at some teams. So let me go to the window capture. Go pull this up. All right, you guys should be able to see this. And what I want to do is I'm going to edit this because it's showing the entire screen. Let's see, hit alternate. Okay. Try to size this correctly. All right. Let's go ahead and put that there. Let's get this to fit the screen a little bit. Definitely gotta edit this up a lot more. And let's go ahead and put it all right, now it should be within the screen here. All right, so this is the schedule, right? This is the schedule. But the good thing, shout out to Pecan for doing this as well. He's got every single team's schedule listed. If you're a part of the Discord and you want to listen to this schedule, it's already in there. It should be Schedule B. It should be pinned in the debate channel. Where we were arguing about which schedule should we take. Should we take Pats or Pecans? Schedule A was Pats. Schedule B is Pecans. You want to click on Schedule B, and you'll be able to have access to this, which is the season that we're the schedule that we're following this season. So let's go all the way to Tennessee to go back to the main topic that we talked about, the gauntlet. Right? These guys have lost only one game this season. Here's Tennessee. All right. So let's go ahead and talk about it a little bit. All right. So can't really see my what's it called, my mouse, but and Tennessee's kind of split up here, but let me see if I can do this. Nah, because it goes away every time I do it, but you guys see what I'm talking about. Okay, so Tennessee, they beat Auburn, right? They beat they lose to TCU. That was their only loss so far in the season. They lost that game 24-20. But let's kind of skip all of that, so I'm not even gonna get into the past. But they've won every single game, and they were able to best Penn State, and they dominated. Now this is where the gauntlet kind of starts for them, right? So they have at week 8, which is right now. The gauntlet starts right now, guys. Tennessee, can they beat Bama? Bama's been looking sketchy, man. I do have to say that, but they're 5-1 too, and all it takes is for my guy to at the quarterback position, Goldsberry, to get right, and this team right back to the national championship. I mean, this is literally almost looking exactly like last year. They made it to the national championship last year and almost won. So Alabama is still that dangerous team. Can they beat Alabama? Alabama has to, of course, be their best, but if they are at their best, does Tennessee have the talent to still beat them with that? Of course, you guys know this is game of the week, so I'm calling this. I'm definitely calling this game this week. So you already know what's up. So they got that. They got the former #1 team in the country the following week in LSU, which is probably going to be another game of the week. So this means Tennessee might have 3 back-to-back consecutive games of the week. Then they got to play South Carolina, which I think, you know, the rest of these, that's winnable. But again, South Carolina they beat Alabama. But I don't think that they can beat Tennessee, to be honest. So I see Tennessee beating South Carolina. I see Tennessee beating Texas A&M. But this is the goal that I'm talking about. We just talked about Alabama. We just talked about LSU, tough teams. And then we get all the way past those two teams. And we have, somebody messaged me. But, and we have at week 12, Georgia. We see how dominant they can be. Georgia's going to be at week 12 for Tennessee. That's 3 teams that are going to be absolutely, like, you don't know if you're going to win. I mean, I don't know if you ask the players, they're going to be like, yeah, we're going to win. But I'm talking about from an outside view, you're not associated with the team. Realistically, those are 3 games Tennessee can lose. And even the final game, USC, they get their stuff together. This is 4 games that Tennessee has to come out of and close the season. If they win these games, they by far deserve the chance of being in the RFL College Series playoffs. If you beat Alabama, LSU, Georgia, and USC, or even beat most of them and only lose 1 more game, that's impressive. They're going to the playoffs. That's for sure. But that's still 4 tough games. Let me hear from you guys. Let me go look in the chat. What do you guys think? Do you think Tennessee survives the gauntlet? Is Tennessee, after seeing this, a playoff caliber team in your opinion? All right, let's see what the chat's saying. So Clark says, I'm thinking top 3 at 4 team will have 3 losses. I think it might be a 3-loss team in the playoffs this year, not going to lie. Yeah, Tennessee Adams should be good. 17 turnovers. I think I'm reading old messages here. So Tennessee got the true test the rest of the season. Yeah, that's crazy. If they make it through this, that's battle tested. That goes to show you how good of a team they are if they could still make it to the playoffs. Charlie Dotson says, we built for this. We will see, man. You guys are looking good, though. I'll tell you that. Says, catch y'all tomorrow. Says, Pat. Hey, Pat. Oh, yeah, I forgot to talk with you, man. We're not going to be in the booth for commentary because I've already pre-recorded the Thursday game. I'm only calling games on Monday, and I can't record that for you to commentate over. So, unfortunately, because I have to work on these rosters, man, I can't do more than just Monday games. So, yeah, I unfortunately can't have you on for that. If you could call some Monday games one day with me, if you're available for that, just let me know. But, yeah, unfortunately, I can't do Thursdays, man. Wish I could at least do Thursdays in the last games, but looking at what I have to do with these rosters, it's going to take way too much time, man. I got to be able to focus on building these rosters. Let's see what we got. Okay, said that is a gauntlet of a schedule for Tennessee. Definitely agree with you there, Shaw. Says, I say they lose 2 of those games, says Dalen Mitchell. Good assessment. I mean, definitely possible. So I'll say they lose 2. Says Garrett Evans. Tennessee can win 2 of 3, says Mr. Calling Home. So that's going to be one heck of a run if they manage to pull that out. It definitely will, man. If Tennessee does that, that's going to be incredible. Like, I know the storyline's going to be like the stock that's going to raise even for Tyon, because this has been the front runner guy that guy's been talking about, and of course he's had an up and down season a little bit this year. We know he didn't get to play a full season last year off the suspension he suffered, couldn't play in a bowl game, but at the very least he'll at least play in another bowl game and actually be in that one. Definitely grown and matured, but that's going to be crazy. That's going to be crazy. If he can lead his team to victory there, he did a great job recruiting and getting that defense stacked up with some new players, with some submits, and they came through, man, especially in last night's game. Not last night's game, but Monday's game. That was where you saw that recruiting paid off. Like, guys were just balling. Said, not sure if they get through the entire gauntlet, but they will be fine, says Chris Clark. Said, Tennessee is already in the playoffs in the regular season. I know, right? Facts. This is already yeah. They're going through war right now. Yeah, so looking at you guys' opinion there, it's a gauntlet. Now, let me make my early predictions. So, Tennessee versus Alabama. I'm going to take Tennessee, man. I think Tennessee beats Alabama. Tennessee versus LSU. I think Tennessee beats LSU. So that's already 2 out of the 4 top teams. I already said I got them beating South Carolina. I already said I got them beating Texas A&M. Now they got Georgia and USC. And I think Georgia is the team that's going to give them their second loss. I don't know why. I just have that feeling. I think Georgia's going to be the team that gives them that L. And I feel like USC is going to be tougher than Tennessee thinks, but Tennessee's going to find a way. So I think that Tennessee goes 3 or 4 in that gauntlet matchup. That's just my opinion. They can obviously go 0-4 or 4-0. You know, you never know. But I would say I feel that Tennessee goes 3 or 4 out of that gauntlet. Looking at some other teams, let's go look at USC, right? So we're talking about USC, how they're 5-2 right now. This is why this is an interesting team to pay attention to. Look at this. So we're at week 8 right now. Notre Dame's going to be tough. Notre Dame's looking tough. I actually chose Notre Dame this week, right? So Notre Dame for USC is going to be a game. If they lose that, that's 3 losses. Most likely they're out. But it's a winnable game for USC. If again, big if Cardenas has a good game. If he does well, USC does well. Let's just say they win that game, right? I'm going with the Fighting Irish in that one. But if they win that game, look at the rest of this competition. It's winnable. I got them beating Florida State. I got them beating Oklahoma State. Once again, they can fumble the bag on these games on their own. I got them beating UCLA. You know they're looking better. They can't afford in any of those games, though, to have a mishap. And I know 4 weeks straight of not having Cardenas fumble the bag is a lot to ask, but I think it's possible. And then, say, for instance, they win all those games, and then they got to face Tennessee at the end of the season. Like I said, I feel like Tennessee is going to be victorious in that one. But if USC somehow gets it together and wins that game, USC will have only lost 2 games this season, although one of them came from Stanford and the other one came from a formidable opponent in Oregon. That's a playoff caliber team now because they only lost 2. So this is why I said that they have a good shot at making the playoffs, guys. And I don't think I got this big enough for you guys, to be honest. I probably don't. I know this text is small. I don't even know why I had it like this. Let me increase this text a little bit. All right, so this is probably going to work a heck of a lot better. So let me go ahead and Alt. Should have been did this. But yeah. You guys definitely should be able to see that. So this is USC schedule. And yeah, we're right now week 7 just passed. They beat them. And that's why I said that's going to be pretty interesting. That's going to be pretty interesting, man. If they can somehow find a way to beat Notre Dame, if they can somehow find a way to beat Tennessee, which I think is possible, I think they can win out. So USC sneaking up. They looking scary. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that USC goes undefeated? Or are they going to be a 3-loss team? Or will they lose more than 3 games in this one? What you guys thinking? Let me know in the chat. See how I get access to the schedule for the teams. I got to get this link for you guys, man. I'll do it at the end. I'm going to drop a link to a League Lobster link in the chat later on, Rashad Mitchell. And that link should have the rankings. Now, in terms of the schedule, yeah, you're talking about that schedule. If you want to schedule who's playing who last, that's pretty much a Discord exclusive. So unfortunately, you would have to use the League Lobster just to look at what's coming up because that gets updated every week. So you just get to see the upcoming games, but you don't get to see the full schedule. So unfortunately, if you don't have that Discord access, you can't get that schedule unless somebody gets in contact with you and you get in contact with somebody and send a Discord and they drop off that PDF file to you with that. All right, so let's see. He said, "Now I think USC won't have enough to make them make the playoffs." Yeah, it's gonna be tough. Honestly, have no clue. I think USC makes it at 4. Wow. Okay, Charlie Dotson thinks they make the playoffs. Can you look at Miami's schedule? Okay, yeah, we can look at that. It says we really got 1 L for real. We got that bogus loss from the custom playbook. Yeah, that custom playbook y'all used that 1 week and then that was it. Took it off, and you guys have been winning since. Been some shaky games, but I mean, you're still winning, so all that matters. It says Notre Dame and Tennessee takes them out. So Christian thinks that they are going to lose 4 at the very least. Shot you need. Okay, now I think we talked enough there about USC, but showing like how likely it is that they could be a playoff team, which just amps up the energy more towards the end of the postseason. Let's go get a look at Miami. Of course, they have won every game all the way up to week 7, and they play Wisconsin this week. Should win that. Maryland the following week should win that. Georgia's going to be a tough opponent for Miami, right there. So that's their first like real challenge. Even I mean, they've had a challenge before with Oregon. They haven't had the toughest of schedules because if you look at it, I mean, Notre Dame played them tough. They were pretty good. They almost lost that, but they found a way to win. So Notre Dame was I'd say it's still a tough challenge for them. So that's one. Oregon was a tough challenge for them in week 6 and really haven't had anything since. Next time that they're going to have real comp is going to be against Georgia. Florida State should be easy for them. Clemson, the way they've been looking, should be a winnable game. And then Baylor at the end. This is a rivalry, I guess, quote unquote rivalry. It was a great game. It looked like it was going to spark a rivalry. If Miami finds a way to win this over Baylor, then this rivalry is dead. There's nothing between the two. But yeah, Miami and Baylor, that's going to be a big game. So they've got 2 really big games left in those 2. I don't feel like I don't know. It's a lot. They could be undefeated, but me personally, I feel like they're going to lose 1 game at least. Kind of like how it's been the last 2 years for them, right? They might lose that Baylor game, and then it could be a game where it's just like, wow, these guys lost to that team. They lost to Maryland. They lost. Well, I don't see them losing to Maryland. I don't see them losing to Wisconsin either, regardless, nor Florida State. I feel like the only team that's kind of weak that could like upset them that they don't expect would probably be Clemson. And that's if they get it together. But even when they're balling on offense, their defense is pretty trash. But at the same time, Miami still has its issues sometimes on offense. So, like I said, I could see the only other game outside of those 2 big games that they have left, Clemson's the only other threat that could give them an L, in my opinion. So looking at this, I guess what I can ask the chat, do you guys think Miami goes undefeated this year? Let me know. Put yay or nay. Yay, Miami goes 12-0, or nay, they take a loss. Zion Waddle says no. Interesting schedule down the stretch for Miami, says Rashad Williams. Heck no, says Zion Waddle to add to that. No, says Arl. Undefeated baby, says Dalen Mitchell. Says nay. 11-2, says Mr. Calling Home. So I'm assuming he's saying they're going to lose a conference championship game too. Nay. Yeah. And CP says 13-0. Easy food, whole schedule mid. Nope, says Christian. I guarantee it, says Rodney. Now, did he give a prediction earlier? So you my dog, but don't. Okay, that's not what he was talking about. Oh, he says no. Okay, yeah, he guarantees that they don't win. He put the G on it. He didn't drop the G on it. Oh, man. 13-0, says Lito. So the only guys saying yay are Miami guys, but Rashad Mitchell, who is not associated with a college series team, who's definitely been an analyst on Twitter. I don't know if anybody's been paying attention. He's been dropping his opinions on every game on what he thinks the scores and all that stuff is. And so he's definitely become an RFL fan and is tuned in to all the games, and he's definitely locked in. And he says he thinks Miami will go undefeated this year. Okay. Hey, John Grant says Georgia a problem. Definitely are. Not the G, says Tyon. Baylor schedule, says Mr. Calling Home. Let's go ahead and get a look at Baylor schedule then, since the guys have asked. All right, here's Baylor. So 5-1 all the way up till week 7. So they just got finished beating West Virginia. I also want to say to Mac and the guys, I know you guys requested a custom uniform, but unfortunately I had forgot about it and already recorded the game. So you guys are going to be in your base unis. Like I said, got a lot going on, so unfortunately forgot about that. But yeah, Baylor taking on Texas this week. So I definitely got Baylor in this one because Texas has been looking awful. I think Baylor beats Oklahoma State week 9, week 10. Louisville's going to be, that's a scrappy team, but I got Baylor winning that. Oklahoma game, that's going to be interesting because Oklahoma can put up a good fight as well. But I actually got Baylor winning that. TCU, tough. Yeah, I mean they beat some pretty decent teams already this year, so you don't know what you're gonna get from that. That's a I say these are the tough games for Baylor right now. It's TCU and Oklahoma, and they would be Big 12 matchups. Then of course Miami to end the season, biggest matchup left that they have. So there's a chance they could be knocked out of that top 4 again. Baylor, how bad you want it? How bad do you want it, man? You guys have got to knock off Oklahoma and TCU. Of course, you got to handle business with the rest of them, too. But Oklahoma and TCU are going to be some challenges. And you guys got to be able to step up to the plate right there. Baylor's always been on the outskirts of the playoffs since the Brotherhood and all that's been built. We'll see. Let me ask you guys, do you guys think Baylor makes it in the Final Four finally? And CS5, let me know. Let me see what the chat says. It's all good, sweetie. You understand that you're doing. Yeah, man. Says Baylor, Miami going to be a good game. Says we running the board. Says Christian. Lock it in. 12-1, says Mr. Calling TCU dogs, but nah. These Baylor boys. Let's see what the other guys outside of Baylor are saying. Say, hey, Louisville might make that a good game. Yeah, I do agree. Louisville's no slouches, no pushovers. I'll tell you that. Now, if old boy Cunningham's having a terrible game, sometimes they still find ways to win with that. But like, if he's having a bad game, you got a good chance. Are they not? Says Dalen Mitchell. Yes, of course. Baylor guy says that. You got a Tennessee guy saying that Baylor makes it to the top 4. And Arl Matthews. Baylor, our sons, literally, says CP. Louisville can be sneaky. They definitely can, Alito. It says, if Sheamus does what he does, yes. If the run gets stopped, no. That's a good point right there. They've been giving this guy the rock. Heavy. Brotherhood. This is we knocking Miami. That's Rodney. Okay, I think I'm caught up. But yeah, this is going to be interesting. Very interesting. Let's see if there's any other teams that's in the loop. Alabama. Let's go get a look at Alabama, man, because here it is. So Alabama's only lost 1 game, and that game was in week 4 to South Carolina. They could have very well be undefeated. Don't know what happened in that game. They just had a terrible game, and it was definitely on the hands of Logan Goldsberry. A lot of turnovers by him, interceptions, and just not making any good reads or decisions, holding on to the ball, taking sacks, and ended up losing that game. If they have that type of Logan Goldsberry down the stretch, they are not making it back to the playoffs. But, I mean, they've won since. So they had that bye week. They beat Texas A&M. They beat Florida. This week, it's Tennessee. That's going to be a huge game right there for Alabama. And even if they lose to Alabama, that's still 2 losses on the season for them. No, I mean, even if they lose to Tennessee, that's still 2 losses for them. Okay, then we get to the following week. They got to play Ohio State. Now, Ohio State, of course, they've already got their 2 losses. We talked about how they've been falling off, how they might actually not even make the playoffs. That's 2 back-to-back tough teams to play right there for Alabama. Can Goldsberry be consistent in these 2 big matchups? I don't know. Then the following week, they got LSU. So this is looking crazy, man. I don't know if Bama gets back to the playoffs this year to even get a chance at going back to the national championship. Then they got Georgia. Then they got Georgia. Then they got Notre Dame, who's been playing good. And then they ended off with Auburn, who's already upset at LSU. The ending stretch for Bama is tough. I predict they don't make it to the playoffs. Let's see. If I had to go call what games they win or lose, I think they lose to Tennessee. I feel like they're going to lose to Ohio State too. I feel like they're going to lose to LSU. This is crazy to even say this about Alabama. Lose that many games consecutively. Don't happen in the college series. And then against Georgia, I feel like they're going to lose that one too. I think they might get on a 4-game losing streak, man. Dead serious. If I had to revert any of these games, I do feel like the best chance they have of winning is against either LSU or uh, Ohio State. That's my opinion. Notre Dame, that's a winnable game. I think they can win that. And then Auburn, I think they win that. But I think they lose 4 games. I think they lose these 4 games consecutively, and then they win the last 2, which is crazy. Um, but yeah, I don't see Alabama making it. And yeah, Mr. Calhoun says, "Whoa, 4-game losing streak." Yeah, I am kind of sketchy about the Ohio State. I do feel like Ohio State and LSU, those are definitely more winnable games for Alabama, and Tennessee even is too. But I say Tennessee still more so the hardest, along with Georgia, compared to Ohio State and LSU. So it's just what I think about it. Man, SEC teams are gonna knock each other. Yeah, they will, man. That's the crazy part about it. It's like you could literally have a playoff of all SEC teams, and it's gonna be banging. But can't have it, man. Teams got to lose. They got to play each other, man. The schedule was put together well. I ain't gonna lie. Like the way the games have turned out for this conference and just overall, this is a good schedule by Pecan once again. But yeah, that's Alabama. A lot of people are saying no, we don't see Alabama making it. Okay, I'll do one more team because I definitely want to get into this week's schedule who I think is going to win. Let's look at LSU. So after they upsetting loss to Auburn, now let me scroll up a little bit. Yeah, so after their upsetting loss to, wow, come on. All right, their upsetting loss to Auburn in week 7. They won all the other games. They beat Florida State, easy game. Iowa, easy game. Georgia was their first tough challenge. They won it. Penn State, their next tough challenge. They won it by a point. Texas handled business, had a bye week. Coming off that bye week, these guys was looking rusty. Took the L to Auburn. Now let's look at the rest. Stanford, I think they win that. Tennessee, I think Tennessee wins that. So that gives LSU 2 losses at that point. I am going to probably, at least right now, we have to see how the rest of the weeks go. I am going to go with LSU to beat Alabama in week 10. I'm going to go with LSU to beat South Carolina in week 11. Week 12, I got them to beat Florida. And then I got them in week 13 to beat Texas A&M. So LSU, they's got a little gauntlet going on too. I could see them losing 2 to 3 games. So they are in the talks also for still being in the playoffs. What do you guys think about that? As LSU playoff team, I'm still go ahead and search some other teams here. Michigan, you can even look at Michigan, man. Okay, Michigan has 2 losses on the season. Of course, they lost to Penn State the following week. Stanford, they just absolutely dominated. TCU, they got to play. I think Michigan can win that game though. So it's gonna be interesting. Then look at this. If they get past TCU, I got them beating Iowa. I got them beating Auburn. I got them beating USC. I got them beating Oklahoma State. And then the way that Ohio State's been looking, they definitely have a shot to beat Ohio State. So Michigan can win out and be a playoff team. This is how crazy the playoffs picture is looking kind of right now for the future. The final weeks of this season is going to be epic. Michigan is another team that's thrown their hat in to potentially be a top 4 team when it's all said and done. Let's go look at Ohio State. Ohio State could be in that conversation. They just beat UCLA. Pretty much they got to win out. They could potentially drop another game, but based off of all those teams they have ahead of them right now for those early 2 losses, they could win out and then still be out of the top 4. We got to see how the rest of the season goes, but they got Florida, winnable game. Alabama, I picked them to win, but that's a tough one. So let's say they win that. Stanford, definitely got them winning that. Got them winning Wisconsin, got them winning Maryland, and I got them against Michigan for now. And I know that's 50-50. It's going to be tough. I don't know. So, I mean, Ohio State could be in there with 2 or 3 losses. Again, they're not out of it. Let's look at Oklahoma. Oklahoma's only got 2 losses right now. Actually, do they? I think they lost 3. Yeah, Oklahoma. Let me see. Just went over their schedule. Oh yeah, Oklahoma's already got 3 losses, so let's not even look at them. I think it's over. Oregon, let's look see if they got a play going on. They play UCLA this week, winnable. Oklahoma, tough game, but could win that. Washington, winnable. I think they win that. Beat Washington. Notre Dame, tough, but winnable. Louisville, winnable. Arizona State, winnable. So even Oregon, again, in the talks. There's too many teams to go over, man. So I think I'm gonna stop right there, man. That just goes to show you how many teams with what they have left on the schedule have their shot at making it to the playoffs this year, man. So what a fantastic season it's been. What a fantastic season it's been. I'm gonna go ahead and close things off with this upcoming schedule for week 8. So this is what we got going on. I already kind of talked about who I think is going to win this week, but let me go to my spreads and what I have. Okay, so okay, looking to pull it up. All right. So for this week, game number 1, Baylor versus Texas tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern at night. This is a great game because 2 former Texas Longhorns who transferred from Texas to Baylor will be facing against their old team as starters. And of course, that's the quarterback, Jordan Granger, and running back, Seamus Davy Fitzpatrick. How will they fare against their old team? I think they're going to fare well. Texas has not looked decent since they were on the team last year. They're 2-5. I think they go 2-6 here. I got Baylor by more than a touchdown, 8 or more points in this game. Game number 2 on Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, Notre Dame versus USC. I picked Notre Dame in this one. Now, that was more so because I could have easily went with USC. I think this is the smallest spread that I got, so I just got Notre Dame by winning by 1 point, by 2 points. Really should have put it by half a point. That's how tough it's going to be. Notre Dame's been playing some good football, but USC, man, that if they get it together, this is a tough team, and they got the home field advantage. I am going to take Notre Dame, though. I got Notre Dame. Just they looked a little bit more consistent, so I'm going to take them getting it done on the road by 2 or more points. Next game, Penn State versus Washington. Of course, Washington's looked terrible. I'm going to go with Penn State. I got them winning by 8 or more points as well. It's a lot of big spreads for victories that I have this week. But yeah, Penn State, 8 or more points. Clemson at 1 p.m. Eastern on Saturday. I'm going to take over Florida State. I got them, even though they've been sketchy, Florida State just still not a good team in the RFL College Series. And so I'm taking Clemson by a touchdown or more. And the final Saturday 1 p.m. Eastern game, Stanford versus LSU. And obviously taking the LSU Tigers. Stanford had those 2 little big wins and upsets in the early going of the season, but have looked pretty bad. And we saw that last week against Michigan, getting beat 42-6. I'm going with the LSU Tigers by 8 or more points. Then at 4 p.m. Eastern on Saturday, we have South Carolina versus Auburn. And I'm going to take Auburn in this matchup. I think this is going to be a really good game, guys. I know these 2 teams are kind of at the bottom end in the totem pole of the SEC in the RFL College Series, but they're kind of like evenly matched, man. Like they can shock any team in the College Series, and we've seen them do that. We've seen South Carolina take down Alabama this year. We've seen Auburn take down LSU as the #1 team in the College Series this year. So these 2 teams going up against each other, I think this is going to be an underrated matchup that you don't want to miss. So tune in and see who's going to win that. I got Auburn, though. I got them winning by 2 or more points. Then we have Georgia and Arizona State. Arizona State, I mean, I don't think they stand a chance against Georgia. This is the biggest spread this week. I got Georgia winning by 14 or more points in this game. So that's the spread in that one. Then I have Ohio State over Florida in the matchup to close off Super Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern. I got Ohio State winning by 4 or more points over Florida. I know Florida can make it a tough game, though. So that's why I'm not going to put that margin up there. We've already seen some issues with Ohio State this season. So we'll see how that goes. And then we go into Sunday, at 1 p.m. Eastern, we got Wisconsin taking on Miami. Obviously going to go with the #1 team in the country. Miami, I got them winning by a touchdown or more in this game. I think they get it done there easily at home. Not too much to talk about there. At 1 p.m. Eastern, we got Oklahoma State versus West Virginia. West Virginia in search of their first win of the season, but I don't think they get it done against the Cowboys. I got the Cowboys, who's actually been looking somewhat decent this year. They're at 500 right now, 3-3, but I think they get it done on the road against West Virginia, and they still are in search for their first win and are completely officially eliminated from bowl game play. So Oklahoma State got them by 4 more points. And we get into the 4 p.m. Eastern games on Saturday. Looks like there's an issue there with the games. It should be Oregon versus UCLA at 4 p.m. It says 1 p.m. on the schedule graphic, so that's my bad. But yeah, I've got Oregon beating UCLA. I know UCLA is a better team than what we've seen from the prior years since CS2. But I'm going to take Oregon. They're a solid team. Got them by 6 or more points. North Carolina versus Louisville. This should be a pretty interesting game, but North Carolina still it's not the same team, man. It's just not. Louisville is a lot more consistent for me. I love the way they battled out against Clemson last week. I think they get it done at home once again, and they beat UNC by 4 or more points. Then we get to the last 2 games you can see at the bottom. These should be bangers, man. TCU versus Michigan should be great. I'm going to go ahead and take the Wolverines in that one. I think the Wolverines win it by 4 or more points. Should definitely be a neck-and-neck game where it's going to come down to the wire. And, of course, speaking of neck-and-neck games or games of the week, it is the game of the week. I'll be back in the booth 8 p.m. Eastern on Monday. Tennessee versus Alabama. This is going to be a showdown. It was so tough for me to choose because, once again, to bet on Alabama is pretty tough in the college series. Although you got that inconsistency with Logan Goldsberry, all it takes is for him just to be on or just have an average day. And Alabama is winning games, right? But I'm going to go with Tyon and Tennessee, man. It's so close that I got the spread pretty low at 2 or more points. It's pretty much whoever wins, who's going to win this game. I'm just saying I think Tennessee's going to win this game. That's what I think of the spread. So that's going to be pretty interesting. I'm going to just ask the chat for that game since I'm calling that game of the week. Who do you think wins this week in the Alabama-Tennessee game? And give me some score predictions. So does anyone have a top 10 players per position or something like that later in the season? Well, that's something that will really be done throughout the community. So the community does that. I usually, since I'm handling everything else, I don't create that kind of content. So that will be of the perception of community members within Discord who want to put that kind of list together and post it. That's up to those guys. Q says Tennessee 27-20. That should be a pretty interesting. And I see a lot of people think it's going to be close. Christian says 20-17. So a lot of people like it's only like it's more than 2 people just commented. Yeah. I think other guys rocking with me though in terms of Tennessee in this one. So yeah, I got Tennessee, but that's pretty much it. Unless there's some other guys who haven't heard yet and want to put out score predictions, you can go ahead and do that. Make sure you hit that like button if you haven't already. But yeah, now it's open questions. Those are my predictions. You guys let me know right now if you got any questions for me, and I'll answer them live here on the podcast. And I'll end this. Oh, it's almost 10 o'clock right now, so I'll probably end this pretty soon. If I don't get any messages by like 10:05, I'll just go ahead and end it. Okay, we got a couple guys who just messaged, so now evened up the prediction thoughts. Rodney Goins says he's got Alabama winning 34-31, so close game there. And then Dalen Mitchell says he's got Bama winning by 11, 35-24. Those some good score predictions right there, guys. But yeah, it should be a great game. We'll see how it goes. If you guys are good, let me know. He says, when will the mock draft start? Honestly, I don't create the mock draft. It's all up to the community members. If any of you guys want to go and do that. And I'm especially not going to do it because I'm actually creating the the rosters and stuff. So that's all community driven. And if guys want to do that, feel free, man. Feel free to create your list, your thoughts, who you think's the best prospects right now in the college series, where you think they'll get drafted. I believe I posted in the Discord community some months ago what the draft order is. And if not, guys been paying attention to the RFL since last year, you could go ahead and use that to make your mock draft prediction. Said you going to be in VC tonight or nah? Yeah, I can hop in there, man. Because I'm actually probably about to record another premiere game tonight. And then probably after that work on a team or something like that. I might. Or finish out the Barons. I can't wait for these rookies to get into the league. Yeah, it's going to be interesting, man. Like I said, I know some content has died down right now, but it's all for the sake of the betterment of the league, man. Season 9 is going to be absolutely incredible. So I'm not saying any names, but do you see some prospects separating themselves from the pack for that start dev? I can't speak on that. You'll see in the draft. It's all about you just got to see. If you're watching, it's a different type college series. That's all I can say. I'm not going to speak too much on that. I think guys who've been paying attention understands what's going on right now in the college series, where players kind of stand compared to prior seasons. Who's balling, who's like kind of not. I got guys. Shout out to guys who's helping me right now. Do stats. Got 5 guys on the team for that. They're adding up the stats to college series. Got unfortunately some games missing. We're trying to get photos of because Tyan's been helping me out with recording some games. But if we can't recover those stats, we're going to try to go back and see the game and get the stats at the end of the game for that. But yeah. So I guess I still got 3 minutes. See some questions still going in. He says, still declaring if still deciding if I declare or not. Says Garrett Evans. Said going to be the most users I've ever had in one season. We've ever had in one season. Yeah, it's gonna be crazy, man. RFL season 9 is gonna be ridiculous, man. The stuff we're just working, bro. We working. Season 9 is about to be a masterpiece. Says watch D Williams against Florida. UF has allowed returns on all but one punt, and D is averaging more than 24 yards per return. I don't know if you talking about real life or is this an RFL? So I don't know a D Williams off the top of my head. Oh, is it D Williams against Florida? Or so are you referring to Ohio State? I don't even know if they got a D Williams on the team. He might be talking about real life. It's a baller dance. Okay, yo. Okay. Yep, 1 more minute I got left here. Go ahead, log off. Oh yeah, I'm hyped about season 9. For guys in the Discord that know it's coming, the guys who aren't part of the Discord, you've heard me talk about it, but until you guys see what season 9 is about to be like, man, yeah, you're not even gonna be prepared. It's gonna be a lot of reveals, new uniforms, new everything, man. It's just, this is what we've been waiting for. That's all I'm saying. This is what we've been waiting for the RFL. But yeah, that's gonna do it here for me. Appreciate you guys tuning in for the into the podcast here tonight. Again, if you haven't already, make sure to hit that like button before you guys roll up out of here. And I'm gonna go ahead and sign out. And I'll see you guys, I guess tomorrow for the premiere game. You guys can still earn reload bucks for checking into those games that would have been called by me. So there's no changes in the schedule there. Just show up, still do the same that you would if I was calling the game, and you'll be able to get your 900 reloads for those games. With that being said, it's your boy Smitty, RFL Commissioner and play-by-play commentator, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.